I barely got anywhere into last class before we just started going in some different directions. So we're going to continue with this question about what the numbers say. But before we do, I need a volunteer because we're going to do a PSA today. And now, ideally, it's someone in a white sorority. And who wants to volunteer? Anybody, just a white sorority. Anybody. Are you on? In the gray sweater? No, the woman to your right, two to your right. You want to go? Who wants to go? I just need somebody. Dude, how many sorority women? You want to go? Okay. All white, my friend. Oh, we don't have those at Penn State. One time there was, I need a volunteer. No, it's really easy. This is a really good one. I need a volunteer. Anybody, hurry, really fast. Who wants to volunteer? All white sorority. Seriously, somebody. You're not in a sorority, I can tell. Are you in a sorority? Well, okay, how about mostly white? Are they mostly white? You have a couple brown people? You want to do it? All right, come on. Damn, I never thought it'd be so hard to get somebody in. Dude, all white, if it's above 95%, that's basically all white, okay? So, what's your name?
Danny.
Danny? Wait, were you up here before?
No.
Okay. Nice to meet you, Danny.
Nice to meet you.
Have a seat. What's your sorority?
I have to sit on this?
You don't have to sit, but sometimes it's more comfortable, but you don't have to. What's your sorority?
Pi Phi.
Pi Phi?
Pi Beta Phi.
Pi Beta Phi.
Yeah.
Okay. How many members do you have? Hold the mic close.
Like 200 maybe?
200? Seriously?
That's just a ballpark. I don't actually know.
Wow. Okay. So
50 in each pledge class.
All right. So here's what you're going to talk about today.
Oh, you didn't tell me I was going to talk.
Oh, that's all right. Oh, yeah. No, you got to talk. No, you're going to do a PSA to not just the class, but you're doing a PSA to all Americans everywhere in the United States and around the world about blackface. All visitors to the United States about blackface. Say what the PSA is a public service announcement, and I want you to say what they need to know about blackface.
What if I don't know it?
Well, imagine, you got to know something about blackface. What do Americans need to know? Like when white people put black paint or polish or something on their face to approximate being a person of African heritage or ancestry, sub-Saharan African ancestry. You don't know people did that? Well, she did it right there. She's a sorority member at another university. Oh, no, go ahead. No, talk in your... No, I think you might be.
Maybe I'm not the person for this job.
Well, you don't know anything about blackface?
I didn't know people did that.
Oh,
I
really?
did not know.
Okay, so, this is even better
Is it
then.
like a filter? Is this a Snapchat filter or something?
No. Dude. No, you shouldn't be embarrassed. No, listen, Danny, listen. This is awesome because you are the very person for whom you are doing the PSA.
I'm supposed. Okay.
No, keep holding.
Okay, you are
the
right
person. No, you're good.
Oh,
I
should be giving myself this PSA?
You're giving it to yourself. Okay, so the fact that you don't know what blackface is does not make you racist. However, it makes you highly susceptible to possibly being racist. And so, what is the PSA? What do you think people need to know about blackface?
I think that people should know you shouldn't be doing it.
You shouldn't be doing it. Why not? What do you think? Say more.
I don't think that that people should be impersonating another race, another face color.
Because if they do,
because it's disrespectful.
And
I don't think they would be doing it in positive terms, like positive situations.
You're doing really well.
I don't know what they're doing with the blackface, but it's probably not something positive. I
Okay.
don't think you should be impersonating.
And what do you think?
something
What? Do
that's
yeah.
not
Okay.
you.
So what about blackface in particular, though?
Can you tell me more about it so I know?
No, no,
What
no.
do
You don't. You don't have to know. But what do you think it might be in particular?
Like mockery, maybe?
Uh-huh.
Making fun of?
Black. In this case, black
In
people.
this, yeah.
Uh huh.
I could be way off track though, guys. I have
No,
no,
no, no. You're
idea
good.
that this is a thing.
No, you're good. You're good. So, what? Do you have any? Can you like just with Black Americans in particular? Is there one? Can you imagine one reason why this is just particularly seen as being egregious?
Seen as what?
Being egregious, being like really problematic. Like, for example, this woman right here got kicked out of her university. She didn't just get in trouble. She's expelled from her university.
Oh God. Can I call on an audience member?
Go ahead.
want someone else to
No,
tell
this
me
is like
a
who
little
wants
more
to.
about this.
This is like who wants to
Like,
be
tell
a
me
millionaire.
something.
She's like, you can call your mother,
Like,
right? You want to call?
Can anyone give me some insight so that I can talk about it?
Did anyone else want to go?
No, I didn't know.
You want to go, bro? No. Okay. Go. Do you? Yeah, this is like who wants to be a millionaire. Do you still play that game? Is that a thing? You could hey, black people, and we're not even calling on black people here, so you don't even have to talk about it. Isn't that amazing? That's pretty cool, right? Dude, you want to say something?
Yeah.
You did well. You're doing well, by the way. Danny, you're killing it.
Okay,
You got it.
Thank you.
So it
What's
was,
your name, bro?
Matt.
Matt.
Yeah. So I think blackface originated in like the Jim Crow area. Basically, there would be like performances where white people would dress up in blackface, and like people would go pay and watch them like mock black culture and stuff like that.
Uh-huh. Like minstrel shows and
Yes.
stuff like that. Uh-huh. And then why suddenly now? Like, why is it suddenly just a thing that is particularly egregious?
I think now it's just we live in like an oversensitized world, so things of this nature, especially now, are like way worse.
Or a sensitized world?
Yeah.
Oversensitized is
I wouldn't categorize this as oversensitized.
Yeah, I got you,
because
I
this
got you.
has history of being.
I was just bailing you out on Twitter, by the way. Someone
No,
was
no,
going to
no.
pick up on that.
I mean, there's horrible undertones to this behavior.
Yeah?
Yes.
Which would be?
I mean, it was used as a form of mockery to black
Okay,
people.
I got you.
Which
All
is
right. Okay.
not okay.
All right, cool. Danny, do you need any more than that, or is that good?
I want to know why what this girl did to get her kicked. So she painted her face black. I think I'm
Yeah.
confused that it's on a screen, like a cell phone screen.
Yeah, because
That's
someone
what
took that.
confused
Yeah,
me.
I just took someone took a photo
so
of the
people
cell
are
phone. screen.
actually painting their faces black.
Yeah, dude. Okay, so here's the deal, right?
That's what. Okay.
Okay, so
understand now.
here's what you need to know.
Okay.
Here's what y'all need to know, right? The N-bomb. Remember, I put the N-bomb up here, right? And like we had our Indian colleague. Who was that? Who came up? Who's the guy that came up and talked about his friends and like growing up and like his friends were just like, yeah, it's whatever. Just say the N-bomb, and nobody blasted him out. He didn't get expelled from school because he said the N-bomb. And you can there are probably some instances when people will because they just will, and that's just kind of how it is. And nobody's going to demand that somebody gets expelled, right? Or whatever it is, gets fired from their job or gets kicked off the universe. I don't know, kicked off the planet. Send them Elon Musk. Please help us out here. So this one, for some reason, I don't know how it is or why it is that people don't get the message or didn't hear about it. Who knows? I don't know. Don't get the message that you just don't do this. Why is this particularly egregious? It's mockery. It's this. It's that. I don't know why that. Lots of things are mockery. Lots of things are problematic. Lots of things are this, that, and the other. But this, for some reason, is just a line that you don't cross. You can't. It just has been decided by whoever. I don't know who. But life itself, that you just don't cross this line. And yet, people, like these young women, haven't been paying any attention to the news, and you're at risk of this, that somehow just think it's a good idea. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's that Is it like a problem that this is just the line in the sand and that she got kicked out of school? I don't even have an opinion on that. That's irrelevant. This is a PSA, public service announcement. You just don't do it under any circumstances, period, right? There are circumstances where you can drop the M-bomb because there are black people in this class who would be like, Danny, yeah, there are certain instances when you could drop the M-bomb. I don't know, you're singing along with a song or what. I don't know. There are people who would say like, yeah, dude, just do it, whatever. I don't know. But not this one, right? It's just not. But yet, what we see is that sometimes people just aren't paying attention. So it's like when someone uses the word colored people, right? Colored people, there's nothing wrong. It's not a racist term. It was never a racist term, but it got turned into one in the following sense, right? For some reason, it just got decided over the past like 15 or 20 years that saying colored people was a bad thing. It was never used as in a racist way, not dropping the N-bomb. And so suddenly, if you're a white person and you use colored people, right? If you were to say that in the microphone, yeah, colored people, you'd hear this sort of like, in the class. And the reason for that is first off, because people have just decided that it's racist, even though it never was used that way. But also, it's an indication that people just aren't, like, paying attention. Like, paying attention. This is different. Like, you could not pay attention to people doing blackface, but not paying attention to the way that people want to be talked to each other. You know what I mean? Like, that's like, if you don't know not to use colored people, that means like you don't ever have a conversation with a black person, or you don't pay attention to conversations with black people, so you don't even know, which tells me then that you don't give a shit. You don't care. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not part. This, if you don't watch the news, and many of you don't, and many of you have no idea, you never pay attention to anything that's in popular events, like, that's one thing. That's like, okay, whatever, I don't pay attention to this stuff, but it's something else. Does that make sense? You got that? Anyway, so there it is, dude. So you don't do it.
I never would, even though I didn't know what it was. But I still never would. I would never do it, even though I didn't know what it was. But I will pay more attention.
You don't know that, though, right? If you didn't know, and some women in your sorority were saying, like, hey, we're going to do on Halloween, I'm going to be Beyonce. And I'm going to, like, and you, if you're not paying attention, you'd be just like, oh, yeah, okay, whatever, and you move on. And you're like, oh, wait, WTF. She just said she's going to be Beyonce. Like, oh, hang on, I better go have a come to Jesus conversation. It's like you don't know, right? Because things happen.
Yo, can I add on
like
to this?
He would never not use. He would never eat a salad without Ken's balsamic vinaigrette. Or pot. This is what happens when you're a pothead. You know what I mean? It's like 3 PM. Your brownies have kicked in. You got the munchies, and you're like bringing a whole salad. You know? He's got like a whole meal up here, man. This guy.
Yo, Sam, can I add something?
Yeah, go ahead.
If blackface isn't okay, can I ask you, is this okay?
Yeah, exactly. But here's the deal. You want to know what the difference is? Hang on. Stay up here. Go ahead.
Their voices aren't heard enough to say anything.
Exactly, man. Indigenous people's voices aren't heard. You got black people. Where's the black dude that I showed in the first day? Remember that photo? It was a black guy dressing up, mocking Native Americans. It's like black people. Native Americans are so out of the picture that even black people don't pay attention to them. I'm like, come on, black people. If I can't do blackface, then you can't do redface. It's kind of basic. It's basic. So it's like, that's how far down where Native Americans are in the public conversation about race. It's like, man. So anyway. Dude, it totally happens a lot. It happens all the time. Yeah.
That's all.
All right. Thanks, man. You did a nice job. All right. Hey, does anyone want to add anything to anything I said? Anyone just feel like they want to kick it out? Question, bro, or a comment? Question. Dude, I love questions.
My name is Jared. And for anyone in here who's seen the movie Tropic Thunder, Robert Downey Jr. Performs as an African American character in the movie. Although I would argue that it's not for the purpose of mocking African American culture in any way, but just for in the spirit of comedy. And I do think it's a funny movie, and I wouldn't necessarily say that it's not a funny movie just because he does blackface in it.
Well, here's the other thing with that movie, bro. Right? Here's the other thing. That movie was quite a number of years ago. And that movie today would not get made. Things have shifted. That's how fast things have shifted on the blackface issue. It wouldn't get made today. In fact, people who have worked on that movie have already said, actually, I apologize for being part of that movie, in which this guy did blackface and like, okay, which is fine. I'm not saying I'm with you on it. I'm just saying, bear in mind, this is how quickly things change. And so, like, one thing that's okay here, it's not okay there. And it's like, how that not? Which is why you have people who are like my age and older who are still saying colored people. And then they say colored people because, that's just the word you use your whole life, right? And then suddenly they get called out as being racist. I'm like, whoa. I thought dropping the N-bomb was racist because back when I was a kid, black people referred to themselves as colored people. So I'm like, okay, I'm all good. I got it, right? Most black people in my life refer to themselves as colored people. And so now suddenly it changes, but all that says is, well, I haven't I haven't been part of the journey. I've spent the past 40 years of my life, or 50 years of my life, not even paying attention. So that would be why I would get called out. Do you have anything to add to that about it?
Yeah, because in the case of the blackface, there's a historical context to it, and it's sort of legitimate that people might be offended because in the past it was used as a form of mockery. But it seems with the wording of colored people or people of color that the change doesn't necessarily have that context. So it's still legitimately racist if people have just maybe arbitrarily decided to be offended by it in recent years.
Which is what it is, man. People just decided that, and that's okay. I'm not the one to say like what people want to be called. You be called whatever you want to be called, but understand that what I find with my generation is that when I'll hear people who are my age or older, let's say, who say colored people, and I always ask them, like, hey, when's the last time you actually had a face-to-face conversation with someone who's black or African American or something? And the answer is like, well, usually never. I haven't for 30 or 40 years. And I'm like, okay, well, there it is. Like, it doesn't mean that person's a horrible person, but it does mean that they're not engaged in the conversation and the debates and in the dialogues and so on. Wait,
Going
what's your
back
name
to
again, bro?
I'm August.
Oh, yeah, August again.
His Tropic Thunder comment, it's not really, in a sense it is about the actual, like, changing of the color of your skin, but it's more about the fact that no one should be, like, portraying the black experience if they're not black, and the fact that they would have Robert Downey Jr. do that instead of hiring an actual black actor.
No, but that was part of the shtick, right? Dude, there were black people working on that movie. You know what I mean? This wasn't just a bunch of white people.
I'm not saying that it was all white people who did it, but I think that's a lot, like, part of the issue is that I think that's, like, part of the whole blackface thing now.
Yeah, I
is
got
like
you.
that white people shouldn't be portraying African American experience or the black experience if they're not.
Okay, you ready? White people. You got this? I don't want to open this up because I want to keep going to class. I'm just making I'm making actually my point pretty well. I think the point's being made. And I'm going to make it again. There are black people in this room who's going to there are black people in this room, and you know this, who would disagree with you on that. Like, that's your opinion, right? I think my opinion is that white people shouldn't portray blah 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 blah, right? Okay, that's fine. That's like fine, dude. You're totally. That's fine. Not a problem. It's a problem if he then, let's say that something, who knows what happens, and in my humble opinion, it's a problem, if he starts to believe that his way is the only way. So August becomes like the dictator of the world. And August is saying like, yo, this is the way it is. And I'm like, man, come on, dude. Like, yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, the blackface thing, I'm like, dude, all I know is you just don't do it. And I don't know why it is that college students keep doing it. Other than white college students in particular, or Asian. There was an Asian fraternity that did it also a couple years ago. in an Hispanic fraternity that did it. And then the fact that they're just not paying attention. They don't care, which says, like, I don't care. Which is why we have classes like this, to have these kinds of conversations. To say, like, well, maybe there are issues that I care about that other people don't care about. So maybe they have issues that they care about that I don't care about. Anyone feel like they just start squirming in their seat and they just want to make one final comment? Dude, you have one? Wait.
Hi, sorry, I lost my voice, but I have a question.
Yep.
So I know that, like, colored people is a racist term, but, like, I'm on Twitter all the time, and, like, people use, like, the term people of color or, like,
Yeah.
POC when they're talking about racial
Yep.
terms. Is that considered racist?
No, listen. First off, racist is like, understand, I don't even like to use the word racist. It's just sort of, because everybody has different opinions, right? Like, there's no book that you can open up that says, here's how it is. So understand that. Be really clear about that. There's no word that you can use that's just like, what are we talking about? People of color. What are we talking about? That includes Hispanics. Hispanics are people of color. So who in this class? Who's like a really light skinned white Hispanic? Who's a white Hispanic? Here. Oh no, you're white. Yeah, you're still you're mixed though. No, white dude. Where are you from? Well, what's your background? You're cute. Okay, stand up real fast. What's your name again, bro? So Ryan is a person of color. Can you put him on, bro? Can you pick him up real fast? Can you put Ryan on the stream team? Can you put him on the overhead? Is it working? Jeff, we lost Jeff. All right. Anyway, can you just see Ryan? See, there's Ryan, white guy. Who else? Who else is in better light? Dude, look at you. Here, get this dude. Stand up real fast. What's your name? Diego. Oh yeah, there you go. Ryan, you're just like what was it, Ryan? Yeah, that's a wannabe, man. All right. That's not an Hispanic name. Like, come on. Diego, by contrast. This is an authentic person of color right here, Diego. Turn to the side a little bit so we can see. Yeah. Got that? So when we start, thanks, man. So when we start talking people of color, so here, ready? Diego, here, can you stand up and can you stand up? What's your name? Brittany? Brandy? Dude, Diego, stand up again, and Brandy. So these are both people of color. Bro, you stand up too, real fast, yeah. And what's your name? Treyas? Where are you from? Where's your family from? Yeah, where are you from originally? India? Okay, so here we go, right? You got it? So like, what? Okay, thanks, man. And then you. Okay, here's another. And she's a person of color. Here, wait, can you get her? Just stand up real fast. And her, what's your name? Angie. Oh, wait, hang on. Got it? Angie. So what does this term mean? Like, really, what's it mean? Colored people, we use that to refer, that was black or particularly African Americans. And it was a term that African Americans called African Americans, white people called African Americans, other people called African Americans. It was fine, that's what it was. But we went through the 60s and there was this sort of movement into the 70s where it was like, let's come up with some other terms, because colored people was historically associated with one downness, like Negro. It's like, oh, colored people. Like, when you look at Jim Crow, white people, colored people. Drinking fountains for white people, drinking fountains for colored people. So what people started to say is, black people in particular, it's like, no, we just got to get rid of the language, man. Language is oppressive, so just get rid of that, and we're not going to use it anymore. So we're going to talk about something else. So people started to use black, they started to use African American. But because there was no term for all people, like minorities, minoritized status, minorities, right? So you have like the majority, the minority. So then you get this minority is sort of derogatory also. It's like, oh, minorities, right? It's like, what's minority? Because minority is not just racial minority, right? Women are a minority. People who are LGBTQ are minorities. Disabled people are minorities. I mean, we just go on and on. So what are we talking? We can't use that term. So people try to come up, okay, we need a term that addresses ancestry differences and people who are white and people who are not white. We need some kind of term. Colored people we can't use because it really only referred to black people, and black people don't want to use it anymore. So people started to say people of color. So you'll hear me say that sometimes because I don't know what else to use. Like, what do you use? So it's just a difference. And so, but then if it's then minorities is also problematic, and then people start to say, okay, people of minoritized status, because minorities is just sort of disparaging in some way. People of minoritized status. It's just a descriptive term that isn't disparaging. So this is not really about political correctness, my friends. It really is about just finding ways to have conversations that make sense and that we can agree on something. But there's not much to agree on. If I say Asians, what am I talking about when I say Asians? I'm talking about like India, China, Vietnam, Korea, Japan, Indonesia. People from these places have nothing in common. North America is Mexico, the U.S., and Canada. So if I say I'm North Americans, I'm including Mexicans in this. So is that cool, like North Americans? Should I just refer to people in this class? Oh, well, let me talk about the North Americans in here. That would be all the people of white European ancestry and Mexicans in here. So it's like, you'd be like, no, that doesn't mean anything. So then we don't do that. So you understand, it's not, and you can't say, oh, we're all going to be Americans. Like, what the fuck, what does that mean, right? We're all going to be Americans. Really? Just Americans. Well, American involves all of Latin, South, and Central and North America. So Diego is his ancestors are his ancestors are Americanos, right? Ryan, his ancestors in Cuba are Americanos, right? So you got it. We go there? Anyone else have something? I don't expect any of you to remember any of that. It's not about it. It's about understanding that, well, actually, to have precise and thoughtful conversations about these things, we have to just think about what it is that people want to say and what they want to talk about. Do you know what I mean? Go ahead, our Ethiopian colleague.
So from the other side of the argument, people say that this is cultural appreciation and all that. My first question would be, where do you draw the line of cultural appreciation?
Appreciation or appreciation? Just appreciating culture.
Yeah, and mockery.
Okay.
And also, would you agree with the statement that America is the least racist and xenophobic country in the world?
The least?
The least.
Well, it's really fascinating. I don't have an answer to that. I don't know. I've traveled all over the world. Let me for those of you who think that's a silly question to ask.
Because if you've been outside of the United States, it gets worse.
Dude, you've been to Ethiopia lately? Yeah, I've been to Ethiopia 2 times, man. I'm like, yo, there's some serious racism in Ethiopia, man.
Racism is there.
Yeah, okay, racism and xenophobia and so on, right? Yeah, dude. So here's a question, right? Mm-hmm. Where'd you come up with the idea that, hey, just stand up real fast. What's your name again?
Jonathan.
Jonathan. So when you say, when you get outside the U.S., it gets worse. What do you say something about that?
So basically, everywhere you go in the around the world, black people and other minorities face racism, right? Even in Africa, there was a couple years ago in South Africa, for example, black people were killing other black people because of xenophobia, which is basically hitting someone from a different country. So from my family's experience and from people that I know, as a black person outside of the United States, it gets it gets really bad.
Just for black people, so we're not even talking about anybody else.
I'm talking from the perspective of my background, and also like if you talk about like the Asian country, like it's really bad in China. Being black in China is like one of the worst things.
Oh my God!
I actually read an article that said like if you're black, don't live in Korea. Like because of the outrageous racism and discrimination other black people face outside of the United States.
All right.
So my question stemmed from that.
Okay, all right, that's cool.
perspective.
Hey, any Korean? Okay, thanks, man. Any Koreans want to respond to that real fast? You want to defend your country? Anybody want to say? Anybody want to say anything about that? Yeah, go ahead. Dude, give the front and the guy in the front row. Guy, that's right. You heard that. So let's hear from an authentic Korean right here, dude.
Right. So first,
Wait, what's your name?
I'm June.
All right.
I'm Young June, actually. I do feel sorry about that racism articles. And from my experience in Korea, it is true that there might be some chance of you can experience the racism. But still, it really depends on the provinces. So I'll give you an example. When you go to somewhat rural countries, somewhat rural places, there might be some xenophobia and somewhat they might be little scared of you because you have the same you have the different skin color. I'm sorry about that. That's because in Korea, when I was back in my high school, there was zero diversity. They had I had a very little chance of dealing with other races. So that might be a reason. But if you go to real big cities like Seoul or Busan, you're not gonna, I would say not zero, but you're gonna have very little chance of experiencing that because people there is a little more open-minded than person in the rural countries, rural areas.
Yeah, that's cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. It's an awesome. Here, I'm gonna answer your question in the following way. Okay, I know there are probably a lot of people in here, especially black and brown people. Like when Jonathan asked his question, it's like other countries around the world are much more racist than the United States, and there's a narrative in the U.S. that says, oh, the U.S. is the most racist country in the world, and so on and so forth. Right? Okay, look. And you ask me, and I say, I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. And where does my I don't know come from? My I don't know comes from as I've traveled all over the world and studied this and explored this and had infinite number of conversations with people asking that question and trying to figure it out. And I still got a lot more of the world to study and to go to, and I'm not really sure. Because I found just what you're talking about. You said there was a case in Africa a couple years ago. Dude, there's 30 cases right now I can pick out. Ethnic conflicts that are happening where people are dying this week of Africans killing Africans. Probably 30 in my mind I could go to. So it's it's not just one a couple of years ago, please. And so I don't know. And part of what a class like this is to get rid of some of our understanding and bias. Dude, if you go, we're going to talk about soul. And going, come on, man, you go to Seoul, it's whoa, hey, oh my God. Okay, it's a different world, right? You just got, the world's complex, but we all think we know, and then we don't study, and we don't do any, I don't know, it's crazy. Anyway, I'll give you some examples in a couple minutes. I want to keep going. But, hey, what was the question about the Tom Brady one? What's that? Do you want to?
So there's a person who claims to be in the class, don't know how legitimate that is on YouTube.
But wrote it on the stream.
But on the stream said, blackface is about paying respect. I don't get what the big deal is.
Okay.
Followed by much later in the comments stating that if they were to dress up as Tom Brady, that they were going to then be respecting Tom Brady. And it's a simple concept, and that's
Dude,
the comment.
Which is cool. Thanks for that comment. All right, you can kill it. Look, here's the deal. Sometimes, I'm sure for some people, it would be seen as paying respect, like in red face. I'm sure for some people it would be seen that way, including people who dress up as Native Americans and operate in their lives in some way. They themselves are not doing it from a place of mocking and so on, and feel no, I'm doing it as a way of paying respect. I'm sure there are plenty of people who have that. That may be the case, but it also may be that not seen that way. And so there are some times, Like in my life with my wife, sometimes I want to keep arguing with her about something, but sometimes I know, Sam, just be quiet, my friend. Just be quiet. Don't make that last argument. It doesn't matter. It's because this is what she's saying, and just let it go. And so if someone is saying to me, if I'm saying to someone, hey, you know what? I really would rather that you don't make a fake Sam Richards Twitter account and start tweeting all sorts of crazy stuff out during class. I really would rather you not do that, honestly. And you do it anyway. I'm like, because you think it's cool and you're actually trying to be respectful and so on. I'm like, that's fine, but I just would rather you not do it, okay? So don't think I'm going to bless it. And because I'm not. And so there it is. Just don't do it. And so I would say, and the thing with like a Tom Brady or something, that's different. That's like a public person, a public celebrity, a public person who's out. They put themselves out into the world to do that. That's going to happen. This is a very different thing that has a lot of baggage with it that goes historically. Final comment, and then we're going to move on, my friend.
So I have something to say about that one. Was it Tom Brady, right?
Tom Brady.
Okay. So
he's a soccer player, right?
Yeah, there's a difference. There's a difference between appreciating some other cultures, something about their culture, like wearing a kimono or hanbok or something. That's fine. That's respecting the culture. But if you put flour on your face and you're like, I'm a white person, that's kind of a different deal.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, dude. It's like Asians. Here's another one. You never do this to demonstrate that you're gonna be an Asian, okay? You never do. Who am I? You just never do that. You don't do it. You don't pull your eyes out. You just don't. There are just certain things you don't do. You just don't do that. You got it? Are we good? So it's like, I don't know, I don't fight. There's something I don't fight. It's like when I'm arguing with my wife, sometimes I'm done. And it's okay. Maybe other people know something that I don't know. Maybe they know. Here's the question. Maybe people know something about their own culture and their own experience that I don't know. And then maybe it would behoove me to just listen to them. Maybe I'll come to an understanding of what they see. How about that? Cool? Are we good? All right, man. So let's go with, God, that was a whole thing, man. Okay. So this was the question that we've set out to answer these days, and we're not getting very far on it. So we're going to continue next class as well. But I want to go back to this. What I talked about, this all stemmed from something we're going to come to in a hot minute here. But this came from the question of sexual assault and exaggeration, all this kind of stuff, right? So exaggerations, how much happens? And so what people very often go to, especially people in majority groups, will often go to questions of exaggerations. Maybe it's a misunderstanding. Maybe it's some sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a half-truth. But then you get false allegations. Maybe it's not really true. It's false completely. And if you're in the majority group, then that's kind of where you're going to be more likely to lean in that direction. You just are. It doesn't matter. And so here's what I would say to you all, right? Yeah, there are times when people claim racism or they claim discrimination and it didn't happen. And so it's like, okay, I got it. And the more you dig into the stories, the more you hear stories, the more you sort of get finely tuned into going like, that sounds a little fishy to me. Or maybe so, but you're only going to get there if you hear a ton of stories and if you're really in the middle of everything that's going on. So here, I'll give you one. Here's one that when I saw this right away, I was like, So that was the headline right here. These two guys, two African American passengers, are claiming the U.S. Airways employee refused to let them into first class unless they changed out of their hoodies and jeans. Okay? Right away. So you read that. How many of you would read that? Be like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's racist. Look at those guys. Yeah, they just made them change out. But here's what I want. I want someone in class to explain Who knows what listing is? Who lists in here? Who lists? List on an airline. Who lists? There's got to be someone who lists, right? Whose parents work at an airline, they're a pilot, or anybody in class? Yo, dude, you know what listing is, right? Do you list sometimes? Okay, go. Here? Take the microphone behind you. What airline?
My uncle flies for Delta.
So you've flown non-rev
flown overseas using Delta on a buddy pass.
So you've flown using his. So tell us. Have you flown first class?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what have you learned about flying first class? So this means your uncle. How much do tickets cost when you get a ticket from your uncle and you fly overseas?
I believe they changed the rules, but at the time we just paid costs for the tickets.
Paid cost of the tickets. So it's like cheap.
Yes.
Okay. Like I flew to Tokyo first class, JFK to Tokyo for $400. It was $16,000 plane ticket, right? Okay, so tell us what you've learned about flying. What's your uncle tell you when you show up at the airport, fly first class?
We're not guaranteed to get on the plane, first of all. Second of all, he tells me always to dress appropriately. So that would be like slacks and a nice dress shirt. And then on top of that, we have to wait until boarding to even know if we're getting on the flight or not.
And so when your uncle's wife, is your uncle married to a woman? His wife? Okay.
Yes.
When she flies, what's she have to wear?
I'm not sure, to be honest, but probably something. She's a school teacher, so I'm sure she dresses pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, I could tell you because I know. But yes, she has to dress up also, right? So here's what happens. Employees get a certain number of tickets, and they can hand those tickets out to family members. You know, it gets harder and harder when it's like you're a nephew. So you're like at the fourth level down. Like you're almost never going to get a seat these days because flights are so full, right? So, but in order to use these tickets, even your uncle, when he flies non-rev like that, even he has to dress up. You got to dress up. And I don't mean so one time, for example, I was flying out of London in first class, and they wouldn't let me on the plane because I had a shirt on just like this. Only it was it was a shade of blue that was more like jeans. I had really nice slacks on, I had really nice shoes on, I had a tie on, and I had a shirt on. Dress shirt that was light like this. And the woman said, "Nah, that's it's a denim shirt. You can't get on the plane." I'm like, yo, come on, man. Like, are you kidding me? Of course, it's not denim. And she's like, nah, it looks denim, so you can't get on. And so they had to go get the main flight attendant inside the plane. I begged them to send this person out here, and they did. And she said, nah, okay, you can fly. That's all right, right? So you got to dress up. This is part of it. It's a non-revenue ticket. So it tells you, like, yeah, you can use this, but you're like a guest of the airline. These guys were flying non-rev. They were guests of the airline. And the person in their family who got them the tickets knew that. And these guys knew that. When they filed the lawsuit, they knew that because they were told that. And that's part of the ticket. And this is a bullshit lawsuit. And it went nowhere. And these guys, and it's just a bullshit claim. They have not a leg to stand on. They're told, their relative didn't tell them to dress up. So you're going to get kicked out. I almost got kicked out for wearing a shirt like this and a tie. So it's like so I saw that immediately and I said, oh, that's a non-rev issue before I even read the article. And I knew. So okay, it happens. It happens. People make stuff up. It's misunderstandings. It's exaggerations. It's half-truths. Like these guys are thinking like, hey, we're going to get a lawsuit. We're going to get some money from them. And we know it's a lie. Now we know it's a lie, but we're going to go through with it anyway because maybe we'll get some money. Maybe U.S. Airways will settle. So, of course, that happens. How often does it happen? How often do you think it happens? How often? Do you know? Do you have any idea? Do you have any idea? Do you have any idea how often it happens? How often do black and brown people make shit up? Do you know how often it happens? Do you know how often it happens, bro? Do you know? Do you have any idea? Bro, do you have any idea? None of you have any idea. No one knows. We have no idea. We study it. You know, we try to approximate it. We get there. We try to get there a little bit, but we don't know. So I see that. Does it happen? Of course it happens. Does it happen because these guys did it? Does that mean the next person who gets kicked out of first class because they're not dressed appropriately, maybe they're not non-rev? Maybe it's a different story. Maybe it's racism. I don't know, but this one wasn't. And so part of dealing with the stuff about in a class like this is that you got to be really thoughtful. So here, we're going to now get thoughtful. How about this one? What happened? No. I don't want, were you there? You'd like to know what happened. Do you know exactly what happened? Here. Hang on. What's your name, bro?
Fernando.
Fernando. Yes. Another white Latino guy.
Yeah, my dad's from Brazil. So.
All right, okay.
So basically, this whole controversy started from a small clip being let out on Twitter. And what's really laughable is, like, how is this even a story when, like, 800,000 employees are going to food banks, like federal employees? Even my aunt, she has to get her, like, bills paid by her son right now. Like, first of all, what happened was...
Well, hang on.
Can I discuss
So,
what happened?
No, I'm going to let you do that. But you already potentially... I'm just going to help you out here, okay?
Oh, my bad.
No, it's all good, but I'm going to help you out. You already potentially put yourself in the corner when you use the word laughable. Okay? So I'm just going to tell you that. So just take that word back out and replace it with interesting.
Interesting. Okay, it's a very
what's
interesting story.
But see, Fernando gets a little bit of a pass here, right? Black and brown people, because he's Brazilian. So like, okay, well, he's a minority. So we'll sort of let that fly. Okay, go ahead.
So what happened were these students they're from a Kentucky Catholic high school, and they were marching in the March for Life. And they were waiting on the Lincoln Steps to get their buses with a chaperone. And while they were there, I believe the group was a black Hebrew Israelite group, started to harass them and call them like racist terms. There was actually a African American in their group that they like told them they were going to eat his guts or something. They were just yelling racial slurs at him. And then this Native American, he came in to try to defuse the situation. And then one of the students asked the chaperone if they could do their school chant in order to drown out the hateful remarks from the black Hebrew Israelites. And then, like, the small clip that was released on Twitter was just this student who is 16 years old staring at the Native American. I mean, I read an excerpt about what he talked about, and if you look at the full video, some kids are just asking, like, what is happening? Like, they have no idea what's happening.
Okay.
Wait, just one part. And, like, what made me, like, kind of irked me was, like, these are 16-year-olds, but because they put an Make America Great Again hat, they're somehow, like, Satan. Like, I don't understand. Like,
Satan.
Like, literally, if you were to put a Make America Great Again hat, there's honestly a 50% chance you just get punched in the face.
Okay,
or, like,
so
called something.
that's right. So if they didn't have that hat on, it'd be different.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Do you have something you want to just add to that?
What happened was that
Well, hang on. Well,
I just want to kind of refute him a little bit.
Oh no. Okay, go ahead. You want it, so now you have a different perspective.
Yeah. Well,
although neither of you were there, but nonetheless, go ahead.
No. Yeah. No, that's very true. Basically, what people got mad about is that the people who he is speaking of, the Kentucky Christian group, they were mocking the guy, making a lot of fun of him while he was singing his like original battle hymns.
Yeah.
To try to diffuse the situation, everybody who was in a Make America Great Again hat was mocking the guy and really just, offending him.
Yeah. Okay. Got you. All right.
I think that needs to be noted.
Offending this gentleman here.
Yeah, and just making a mockery of him and.
Okay. Got you. All right, man. So here's the question, right? First off, this flies all over Twitter, all over the weekend, all over social media. People see it. They see this right here, and this guy just becomes like public enemy number 5, I guess, right? And all these kids, right? All these kids. It's become the stupid white kids with the Make America Great Again hat or whatever, right? They just become like this thing, so we can just laugh at them. Nobody's really there. But it sounds to me like, first off, I'm going to give you my take on a couple things, okay? I'm just going to give you the way I see something. You could take it or leave it. It doesn't matter. If that was my kid and he was standing like that in front of a Native American elder, any elder, he'd be in deep shit. It's like, dude, you don't do that. I don't care what, unless the two of you are doing engaged in some really intense exchange of energy, which would be cool, right? And then that's all right. But in this particular case, like, nah, man. If you want to wear your "Make America Great Again" hat, I'm like not really digging that. But like, especially among Native Americans. Make America great again. When was it great for him? It was great when this guy's ancestors didn't living here. That's when it was great. But whatever, right? So you got that. But nonetheless, right? Only to get the whole story, you got to go start with what Fernando said, which is these guys. Now, these dudes, if you live in the cities, maybe you've run into these guys, like in D.C. or New York or something. This is the lost tribe of the Israelis, of the Israelites, right? Not Israel, the Israelites. So they have this idea, the black Hebrew Israelites, this is the lost tribe. So first off, those of you who are scientists in here, they think the world is about 5,000 years old. So I feel that could be a problem for many people. Secondly, they're just really aggressive and abusive to people. So they had taken on these young students with their "Make America Great Again" and were hurling insults at them and so on. So they started the whole process. And if you don't include that as part of the story, then we're missing something. Does that mean that it's okay for these students to do what they did? No, it doesn't. But what it means is this was a moment of intense emotion, because that kid, if he was my kid, he'd still be in deep shit, right? It doesn't matter. I don't care how many ways you might have been provoked. But it does mean that you can't begin to start down the road of the conversation until you talk about all of the pieces. And when you look at the longer video, you see that this was just a CF. Dude, do you know what a CF is? A cluster F. A cluster F of major proportions. And so all right, it doesn't make any of these guys okay or right or wrong, but this guy turned around and told a couple different stories, neither of which involved these guys here. So I'm like, well, wait, we're not going to listen to you either, because you only got one small perspective. So who's got the perspective? Meanwhile, the story goes around social media and we lose it. And these guys, by the way, are no different than these folks. It's the same kind of thing. Have you heard of Westboro? Thank God for dead soldiers, because the United States, these are an extremist Christian mini cult. They hate they just want the United States to burn, because then Jesus will return and Jesus will make things right on earth, because that's the extremist Christian views. So, thank God for dead soldiers, because the more America loses soldiers in wars overseas, the faster America will go down. And the quicker Jesus will come to earth to redeem us. It's a crazy idea, but whatever. USA's doomed, bloody Obama, soldiers die. Look at it, right? You get it, right? So these guys are really no different than these guys. It's similar. It's like extremist ideology. It's like, dude, seriously, how did you get that? Okay. But now we're going to go somewhere else. I need a couple different people to come up and answer this question for me. One in the hat. You have a question from the other? Oh, wait. Can we not do it? Can we just maybe come back to? Is it about the other story? Just a question? All right, Ma. Yep.
So would you say the N-word?
Would I say the N-word?
Would you?
No, I just said stop. I just don't say it.
So, you're straight, right?
I am straight.
Okay. So
for the moment,
to
remember until my wife stops.
The F-bomb.
The F-bomb?
Yeah.
Why is that okay?
I can give him permission to drop the F-bomb.
Because
I'm gay, so...
Listen.
Me too, buddy.
No, so here, for me, the Q bomb, right? When I grew up, we never used the word queer. But my queer students are like start telling me over the years, you got to start saying queer, because otherwise we don't even know what you're talking about. Just say queer. So I reluctantly then, I got to change this word that I'm never supposed to say. I start, okay, queer, got it. So now when I say queer community, people in the queer community know, okay, so he's evolved, like he has evolved enough into, the 2010s, right, past the year 2000, when those of us in the queer community have started to use the word queer in a positive way. So that means I'm part of the conversation in the LGBT community that I say queer. So those of you in that community know, like, all right, that's cool, he's part of the conversation. But the F-bomb?
I was just curious.
Yeah, no, I don't. The F-bomb, the reason people can say the F-bomb is because the queer community isn't strong enough to, hasn't come down as hard to say we absolutely never want that word ever used.
I'll say it. I don't like that word.
Yeah, I got you. But when you are a wave of people, then that will go the same way as dropping the M-bomb.
I'm not saying that they're equivalent by any
No, I got you.
circumstance, just
I got you.
aggressive language.
Yep, I hear you. What's your name, by the way?
Stephanie.
Stephanie? Okay. Dude, does anyone know the answer to that question? Well, I'm not going to bring anyone down front. Who knows the answer to this question? You know the answer? No, I don't, but I feel like there is no answer because no one really knows. Well, hang on. Hang on. Go ahead. What's your name?
My name is Leah.
Leah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like the answer to this question is that no one really knows, because if you're not really there in the situation, then you can't really know the real story of what happened.
Okay.
You just have he said, she said.
Okay. So, by the way, we're not talking about just women. We're talking about men also. Yeah. Okay, so I got you. Somebody else. Who wants to disagree with Leah? Yep. Do you have a mic? Hey, so you would disagree?
Pack back thing, what I was going to do, I read a couple articles today that it's close to 2 to 10% of allegations that have been considered false.
Okay. Anybody else want to say something? Well, hang on. Can we do this? Can you get your phones out really fast? I want to tell you, just really get your phones out and look it up. Look it up. Before we go any further, just look at, see how fast you can come up with the answer on your phones. Because Leah's saying, there's no real answer. It's he said, she said, whatever the case is. Wait, hang on now. Let people go on their phones for a hot minute. How fast can you get the answer? Really? Because this is one of these things. Do you have an answer? Do you think you have an answer?
This article says 2 to 10%.
So what's the art? So first off, where's the article from? Right, what's your name?
Lucy.
Lucy?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, this is from BBC News, and it's the same thing. It says that over the past 20 years, only 2 to 10% of rape accusations are proven to be fake.
Okay, so listen. So it's the BBC. It's not like BuzzFeed. The BBC is, I don't care what you want to think about Donald Trump. All news is distorted in some kind of way. Right? All news. Even like you all wouldn't agree on the color of my shirt. Some people will call it blue. Some people will call it looks a little more purple to me. Colorblind people might call it orange. I don't know. But you can't. But it's not all fake news. There are people in reputable news organizations that are trying to get it news. So you start with the BBC, 2 to 10%. Okay. How long did that take? How long did that take her to get that? 60 seconds. Dude. People's lives, people go through a lot of turmoil, discomfort, struggle in 1,001 different ways. And all it took was 60 seconds to look it up on your phone. Instead of being, well, we don't know, it's about this, it's about that, it's whatever. Go ahead, bro.
So the data also shows that only 0.06% of the perpetrators are incarcerated.
Are what?
Are incarcerated.
What is it?
0.06% of the perpetrators
Where's
are
that
incarcerated. From the Washington Post.
Okay, Washington Post. So now I hear BBC, I hear Washington Post. I want to know where they got those numbers from. So when I'm looking at stuff from class, I'm starting to look at stuff. And dude, it took you, how long did that take you? It took you
maybe 15 seconds.
15 seconds to get that. Why is it that these things that really matter to us, and then we don't even look them up? It's like, this matters. It's like instead of, remember the day when we talked about sexual assault and the first question that came up when the person was talking was like, well, what about people with false allegations? Like, well, what about false allegations? This 2 to 10%. Perpetrators have less than 1%, far less than 1% chance of ever spending time in jail. So, whoa, that didn't take very long. That completely changes or structures any serious conversation that we are going to have about truth and about sexual assault and about false allegations. Right there, those two little pieces of information. And yet, we got the, dudes, y'all, my friends, this thing right here, this is a really powerful computer. And there's a lot of important information at the end of this. And I would think if I were taking this class, I'd be in class all day long just looking stuff up. First off, trying to refute me, the stuff that I say, but at the very least, I'd be looking stuff up. Wait, hang on one second. I want to keep going because I just want to show you something here. So here. Now, peer-reviewed study on a college campus. So now I start looking at that number from that, okay? Peer-reviewed study on a college campus. That's where that came from. I say, oh, okay, hang on. What's the N? Well, it was about a 10-year period. And the N, I think, was the N, meaning the number of cases that they really looked at very carefully. It was about 164. And they came up with this number. Even they came up 2 to 10%. So it's like, okay. But at most, it's 1 out of 10. So the first thing in my mind, if somebody says, man or woman, anything about sexual assault, the first thing in my mind is not going to be, is it false? There's at least going just by this study, there's at least a 90% chance of it not being false. So I'm probably going to stand over here in the place of, oh, hang on. She or he is probably telling the truth. Probably. Doesn't mean they are. Got it? Doesn't mean, I didn't say they are. But probably is. So now it's going to shape some things in me. The FBI says, it's about 8%. But I look at those data and say, all right, where's the FBI getting that? And then I say, well, what about other crimes? What's the FBI say about other crimes? On average, how many crimes are falsely reported in the United States? Because this matters. Do y'all know that? Look that up. This matters. How many lives are radically changed because we're just unwilling to even get on our phones? And yet I'm going to sit home and have an argument about so-and-so's friend or my cousin or this person from school or whatever, someone in my sorority or someone in my fraternity. I'm going to have all sorts of ideas about whether they're guilty or not guilty, whether they're lying or not lying, and I don't even have any idea what some of the statistics are about what was probably going on, even though each case is different. Because it goes back to what Leah said. It still is. She said, he said, or he said, or she said, she said. So it's like, Okay, so here. And then I discovered this. I said, oh, one of the reasons that makes this particularly high in the case of sexual assault, that a very large majority, what I've been able to ascertain, I'm not an expert on this. I spent about a half hour looking into it. A very large majority of false allegations are teenage girls. Doesn't mean all, but a very large majority are teenage girls who are saying, did something they weren't supposed to do, and then later turn around and say, no. Okay, so then I say, oh, okay. So now what if I have a student who's not a teenager anymore? Or what if I have someone who's my age? What if I have someone in their 20s? What if I have someone who's 10 to 15 years old, 10 to 12, I don't know. It's suddenly, oh, well, those numbers, instead of being 2 to 10, now, instead of being 10, they start dropping down more around 2. You got it? So now I'm going to investigate this, and I have to make some decisions about it, let's say. And instead of thinking a 90% chance, I'm like, you know what? It's probably, on average, it's not saying it's true, because every case is different. But maybe it's more like on average, a 96 or 97% chance that this person's telling the truth. And that's a very different place to be than sitting back as we were last week or a couple weeks ago, just being like, well, what about false allegations? Meaning they're like somehow equitable, like they're the same. He said, she said, sounds like it's equal. And I'm like, actually, when I look at the data, it's like, she said, and he said. You got it? It's like the person making the allegation. You're probably more going to, the data would tell me that I'm probably more going to want to go on that side. Not always, and that's part of what investigation, you want to balance it out. Dudes. So, now, here we go. When you saw that photo this past weekend, how many of you just, oh yeah, make America great again, Trump people, racist. White boys, racist. Christian kids, racist, of course. Of course, that's what the story is. And my story is, I saw that and I'm like, most human beings are not egregiously mean. It's like, and I saw that and I'm like, oh, that's so sad. That's such a drag. And then I went, well, let me investigate further because, it's too perfect. It's too perfect. Trump supporting young white boys mocking Native American elder. I'm like, it's so perfectly racist that I got to look into this a little further before I go walking off the deep end with the story. And then I'm like, well, yeah, what this kid's doing would be classified as racism by most people, and it's still a little bit more complicated. Okay, you ready? Taylor, Murtada, are you here? Hey, by the way, I'm just leaving. You all go settle this in your discussion groups. So, but we're going to talk about packback a little bit for a couple minutes. And I want to show you, don't put your stuff away. Look, if you put your stuff away, you're not going to listen to us. And then you won't. Taylor, come over here. Murtada. This is Taylor. Say hi to the class.
What's up?
And Murtada. We have a team of 5 people. This is Murtada. Murtada, say hi.
Hey.
All right. Same thing. Okay, listen. They are part of the backpack team, the packback team. And they're 2 of 6 people, but they're really leading things up for us about reading all of your submissions. So I wanted you to see, and then you all can say something in a second. But watch how you do this. It's actually quite straightforward. So you log in. If you don't have your packback ID, and many of you don't, because we only have 684 members. And there's a lot more than that in the class, so you need to get on this pretty quickly, y'all, right? Okay. What's that? The link? The packback link?
No, this link that you gave me here.
Oh, I got you. Okay, so here we go. So you click on our community, which is Social 119.
Oh, wait, guys, can you stop packing up?
Yeah,
Thanks.
don't pack up. No.
Appreciate that.
Okay, go down to us. Okay, so ask a new question. Go to the top. Ask a new question. You start right there. You're going to put your question in right here, and here's our question. That was my question, man. I made that up. Okay, so there's the question. Now we're going to put the video link in. And so you want to put the video link right there. We're just like cutting these out and pasting them. By the way, if you're watching the stream, you can stop watching because, we're sort of done for the day. Okay, so here's the video link. You notice you don't have to put the embed link in. Don't do that either. Don't put it there. Put it up here. Because the team, Murtada and Taylor and their team, they want to be able to see what video you're watching. They don't want to have to click on it. And then you can put your text right here. So we're going to put this text in. It's a very small amount of text. Now, come down and hit save and post question. And then scroll down. And look, curiosity score is only at 50. So that means, what do? You go back, you go to options. Now go back down. Options right there. Click on edit. And then we're going to have to put some more text in there because it's supposed to be 300 words anyway. And you didn't get 300 words. And so let's say we go here. We're going to put the rest of the text in. And you will notice your curiosity score goes up when you actually write in paragraphs and not in, and you don't have spelling errors and so on. And then we're going to put a source in here. And the source is good because it just says that you've kind of looked at some of this stuff. Just like today, right? We did it today. You went BBC, we went the other one. And then look, now suddenly it goes up to 92 points and we're killing it. And we're going to raise the curiosity score to 90. Right now we're starting at 70. And then we're going to go to 80. And then we're going to go to 90. So you want to be able to get this right now. And there you have it. And then, no, hang on. Here's what some of you did. Listen to this very carefully. Jeff, go to a new one.
Go where?
Go to go back to Richards and ask a new question. Okay, ask a new question, the red on the right. Okay, watch what happens. You put your question, just put any question in there. Here's my question. What's my question? Just write anything. Yeah. It sounds straight. All right, I got that. And then what some people did was keep going down. And they saved and posted a question, and then they went in to add response. That's not how you add a response. Your response is go back to Richards, and then go down. Just start scrolling down. These are all things that people in your class have. So I click on that Trump's wall. Do that. Yeah, do that one. 90 points. So I read that. And I say, all right, that's cool. I want to respond, add a response, and then I can start putting my response in there. So, Murtada, first off, Taylor, what do you need to say? What do people need to know? Talk in the mic.
Were you guys listening, for one? Were you listening? Simon, how many words? 300. Good job. 300.
Dude.
Proud of you. Clap him up.
That's Simon, too.
That's Simon. Yeah. I know. All right. How many responses do you have to do a week? Do you know? I'm hearing 2. I'm hearing 3. Which is it? 2. Good job. And do we know how to get there?
Is responding to your own video count?
Is responding to your own video count? Good job.
Just make sure that you don't.
Hang on. Listen up. Listen to what he says, and then we're out of here.
Just make sure that you don't have spelling errors and use paragraphs, and it's pretty easy to get the 70.
Got it? And then we're raising
Thank
it.
you.
So, all right, y'all. We'll see you. Dude. Cool. Thanks, man.